Redirecting.
Meeting is now live.
I don't know why it takes so long for me to get to it on Facebook. Let's see. Because then I can see the comments as they're coming in, but happening now. Yep. Okay. So we are live, and it is 20 laps this week with number 77, Warren Ropp, legend driver. Hello, Warren.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, second time's a charm.
Yeah. First time there's a few technical difficulties, but we got her figured out. So
I know all of you thought it was just this Amish kid that didn't know how to run a computer. So I proved you wrong. I made it.
Well, that's good. We sure appreciate it.
Okay.
And for those that don't know, and welcome Warren. Warren's joining us from his home in Coloma, Iowa, and chooses to make the, what is it, about 6 hour trek up when you come to race with us, Warren?
Yeah, somewhere in there. Usually we have a little stopover halfway or somewhere and have a little bite to eat. It's I checked it the other day. I've been telling everybody for years it was 250 miles, but it's 281 miles one way. So it's a nice little jaunt, you know, makes a long drive home if you try to make it all the way back in the same night.
I always wondered why you brought a great big motorhome. I now figured it out.
Well, usually sometimes, you know, when Denise doesn't travel with me, I just bring the pickup. And so I try my best to make it home, but the older I get, the harder it is to get all the way back home. So I can usually make it to about Dubuque before I have to. Well, I start sleeping before I get to Dubuque, but then I pull over when I get to Dubuque. Kind of like Nelson Stewart does it.
Warren, you've been running in the Legends quite a few years, and give us the, you know, and we're not on a real strict time limit, give us the unabridged story of how the gentleman that owned a series of tractor dealerships in Coloma, Iowa, ends up racing Legends, owning a dealership, and then honestly being one of the more successful Legend racers out there.
Well, thanks for saying more successful, but you know, it's, to me at this point in my life, it's about the people. But I am very fortunate. I really am. I've always had a competitive spirit. Even though you say we got a little open time limit, I'm going to kind of give you the fast scenario of kind of what got me to this point. My racing career started as a young kid in go-karts, you know, kind of racing around your backyard. As I got older, I got involved with my dad's tractor pulling through the dealership. So I would work on his tractor, learned a lot about engines, learned a lot about turbochargers, things like that. And we ran all over the United States running the NTPA circuit. Our team actually won the 1986 national championship in what they call the light superstock class. 25 years ago, my dad passed away at Tomah, Wisconsin at the National Tractor Pulling event up there. I had just talked to my dad, and then I hooked. And when I got done hooking, my dad had died of a massive heart attack. That was kind of one of those life-changing experiences for me, because every weekend it was with my dad. You know, him and I would get in the truck and drive 1,000 miles. We pulled in New York, we pulled in Texas, we pulled in Canada. And after my dad passed away, we tried to do it one more year and it just wasn't the same. So I had a couple guys that wanted to buy our tractor, and one of them wanted to trade a collector Corvette in for partial payment on it. I didn't know anything about the collector part of the Corvette. So I called Carl Moyer in Ankeny, Iowa, who happened to be at that time the Legends dealer in the state of Iowa, because he knew all about collector Corvettes. And we talked, and after we got done, he says, well, what are you going to do if you're not going to tractor pull anymore. I said, I don't know. Well, it happened to be my wife and I's 20th wedding anniversary, and he owned Eddyville Speedway, which was a drag strip / 8th mile oval track. And he invited her and I down on our anniversary, along with a bunch of GM executives, and we raced Legends cars for a whole day. And within a week, we owned a Legends car, and that's kind of what got us started. So that's to the point to get us started to there. And so we kind of got hooked, and the rest of the stories kind of keep coming, I guess.
And you know, we see the signs up at the Speedway, and I know I've been around with Legends for quite a number of years. Bulltown Legends, the Legends dealership, you actually are the official USLC dealer, so you have a lot of close contact with Legends cars. And for the casual observer who doesn't know and understand Legends, give them the Warren Ropp elevator speech. What is a legend? What makes it special?
Well, number one, what makes it special is the group of people that you compete with and that you see week in and week out. That is the special part. The car itself is a 5/8 scale of a 1930s, 1940s Chevys, Fords, Dodges. There's actually 8 different body styles, coupes and sedans. Started out with a 1200 Yamaha motorcycle engine, went to a 1250 sealed motorcycle engine, which both of those became somewhat obsolete and harder to get. And now we're at the FC09 3-cylinder fuel injected water cooled engine. The cars themselves are very competitive because it's a spec class. It kind of comes down to the driver and setup, which means what we see is the people that come out of the go-karting world seem to be pretty quick right out of the box because they're finesse drivers. They know that if they scuff momentum, it slows them down. We also find that the people come out of the late models and sprint cars and things like that find out they're not as easy to drive as they think they are. They kind of get a little rude awakening, and they find out that most of the time they will spin out at least the first or second or third lap that they go out and think they're going to go around flat-footed, because the cars are a true race car, and they're a handful to drive. And we hear this time after time that if you can drive a Legends car, you can probably drive about anything, because it is one of the hardest racing vehicles there is to drive out there.
With the short wheelbase of the Legends car, you know, you can attest to that. And I know I've heard that, you know, those things are easy, but with a short wheelbase, they tend to be very twitchy. And I think you hit it right. And that's one of the things you see at Beaver Dam. We see a lot of the younger drivers came up with karting experience. And those young men, young ladies are extremely good with sensing momentum and good car control skills that they picked up out of karting. And that's what's made that, you know, that next generation, man, there got to be a handful to race with, you know, Warren. As you look at it, you know, there's kind of been a changing of the guard. What used to be you know, there was only on a given night a number of guys that were competitive. Now you look at that Legend car field, wow, there's half the field is feature winning capable, and the competition level has really stepped up.
Oh yeah, and Beaver Dam has got outstanding numbers for the Legends class, and I know here in Iowa we go through our cycles where we have if we have a home track like you do at Beaver Dam, and I tell this to the guys at Beaver Dam that think they want to go race other places on Saturday nights, take care of the track that takes care of you. And when you don't have a home track, you're going to feel the effects of that with your numbers. But right now, your numbers at Beaver Dam are normally 25 to 30 cars on a weekly basis. And I know you've getting several guys from Iowa that are traveling up there now. And people, I got to say this because a lot of people say, well, why do you get in a vehicle, drive 6 hours, 280 miles every week? And I've been doing this for almost 20 years now in Beaver Dam. I've been racing Legends cars for over 25 years. I've been a dealer for 11 years. But the reason I do that is because the way the track makes you feel when you get there and when you leave. They greet you, they respect you, you're a part of the show, you're not second fiddle. And when you leave, they thank you for being there and they know the effort that it took to get there. Now, although I don't like it sometimes when I do stupid things and get disqualified and various things, but I'm not any different than anybody else. It's the people that make the track. The track's a great facility. It's second to none, but it's also the people that operate the track. And I hope those of you that are out there listening that are new to the racing world and want to complain about the little things, I've been around a long, long time, and you guys are very lucky to have a facility and a promoter and people backing that track like you do, because Legends are premier up there, and they're treated as such. We're the ones that are always the support class for the World Outlaws, and I'll tell you what, that's pretty prestigious in my book. So thank you, Jerry and Chris and Carolyn and all everybody up there, because I know we don't say it enough, but without people like you, we would be scrambling just like we do in Iowa, because we don't have what we can call a home dirt track. We have a home asphalt track, and we'll talk about that after a while too. So thank you again, everybody. I mean that.
Now, in the Legends, the competition of over the years, the Legend division has always remained really strong with car counts. And there's so many national champions, not just Wisconsin state champions, but national champions that have come out of the Wisconsin area. And you've had the ability to race with them. For many years, Eric Barth was a many-time national champion, multi-time state champion, go to the Dirt Nationals and win. Mike Miller has been outstanding. We've seen Dave Eberly run extremely strong, and that's just in the Masters division. We've also seen so many competitors, the Ryan Mecks, have run well on a national level. And some of the drivers that have moved up out of there, Justin Pearson, Cody Appleback, have also cut their teeth in Legends. So it's proven to be a great training ground, and they've taken those skills and gone up into some different forms of racing. But a lot of that is because of what you guys in the Legends do.
Yeah, and you notice that each week, like now, you're having new people ended up winning the features. Nicholas, 2 weeks in a row, I think now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's he's pretty new to the game in the world that we live in. For somebody to come out there and do that, he's beating a pretty good field of cars.
Yeah, this year's been outstanding between Nicholas, Eckes, Sullivan, Bloomer. All the young guns are really laying claim to the Third Mile Clay Oval. You touched on the Legend being a combination car. You take that same basic car, change springs, put different tires on it, and you're going to move a couple things around, but then you can go pavement racing too, and you do that on a regular basis.
Well, when I first started out, my first 5 years of racing Legends was that I ran one car at two different tracks. The only bad thing at that time is we ran dirt racing on Friday night and ran asphalt racing on Saturday night. So I would spend half a Saturday morning just cleaning the car up and then doing the spring changes and the tire changes and the caster camber changes so that I could go race on Saturday. And I did that for 5 years and finally got smart enough or rethought the whole situation and ended up getting a second car so that I could do one with one car and go asphalt racing with the other car. It made my life a whole lot easier, I can tell you that. But you can take an asphalt car and make minor changes to it, if any, other than the tires, and go run some tracks on dirt and be really, really competitive. It's a lot more difficult to take a dirt car and put asphalt tires on it and go run an asphalt track and be competitive. It usually doesn't work. But taking asphalt to dirt, not a bad deal. Dirt to asphalt, tougher game.
The skills though, you talked about the momentum, the knowing how you make your car work and how to drive it though, really they tend to be very uniform dirt to asphalt. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. A new wrinkle that's been entered in is this new engine. I I sold a lot of those cars, and I actually own two of those cars. But for the first time last Saturday morning, we had an event at Hawkeye Downs, and when the event was over with, I had one of those cars on show, and I actually got in one for the very first time. And the guy that I have driving one of them said, "I can't drive that car. I don't know what's wrong with it. If it's me or if it's the car or what." That's a whole different animal on asphalt. It's twitchy, it's quick, it's snappy, and you better get up on the wheel with that new engine on asphalt. It's not like driving the 1200 or the 1250, which is like driving a Cadillac compared to that car. You are on the wheel 100% of the time.
And we haven't seen a lot of the FZ09 motors getting into the dirt world yet. On the pavement side, that's really going in. And eventually, I think you agree, you will see the FZ09 progress into the dirt system.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have one for next year if I keep doing this crazy thing called racing. I hope to upgrade to one just to see if we can make it work. I know Mike's got one, and Eric has ran it quite a bit. Eric's very intelligent, and he's got a lot of feedback on that. And if there's anybody that can make it work and what subtle changes that need to be made, he can do it. So I guess I'm letting him be the test pilot this year, and I'm going to ask him and see if he'll give me any of his information. How's that?
Yeah,
That's another thing with the Legends class. We want to help people when they come in. If they're new to the sport, they can go ask anybody, and they will give them the information that they feel is the correct information for that person. The biggest factor is don't take everybody's information and try to do everything everybody's doing, because it'll confuse you. But that's one thing the class and the competitors will do. They will help you. They don't want to see you go through the frustration that most of us went through to get them to work right.
To that note, I know you worked with Brian Pearson. You guys did some setup classes in the off season, which I think is another one of the reasons we've seen so many of the competitors really stepping up their game. That's something I think was very cool, both on your part and Brian's part, to put that information out there.
Yeah, Brian is I mean, we got to go back and always tell Brian's Justin's story when he wanted to test drive the car for the first night, and you approved him and I approved him to, hey, go ahead, hop in the back of the first heat and just run some laps. He just come out of karting, and turn 2, lap 1, he stuck in the wall and rolled it, but he came a long ways, and he ended up winning national championships and track championships after that. But Brian, I don't know if it's in engineering background at Deere, but I mean, he's very detailed. And when he puts a clinic on, it's a clinic. It's not just talking about what we did and what they did. This is why we did what we did. And if anybody ever gets the chance to go to one of his clinics, it's very well worth the money. And he puts out a wonderful little catalog, a little handbook that describes all the setup and what they do and what works the best. I can tell you for a fact that Dave Eberly, I know, has picked up a lot of hints off of that, and he's gotten very fast from it. And I know some other guys out there that's been to the clinic, and they automatically got fast too. I don't know where Brian Sullivan picked up a lot of that from there, but I don't know what got into that kid. Not only is he growing up, but he's also going fast. So, yeah, that clinic is well worth the time. And Pearson does a lot of good work for that. And today, even though they're in a different division, they still do a lot of work with the Legends guys.
Oh yeah, Brian Pearson, definitely a class act as well as Justin. Speaking of class act, on a lot of the legend cars, you'll see the names of individuals, and those names are actually the names of fallen police officers, fallen state patrol peace officers. And I know I was blessed with the opportunity to work with you, Warren, when you did some of the early cops races down in Knoxville, which was super cool for the legends to get that opportunity. I guess twofold, and you can ramble on this one. First, what is cops for the, what is it? What does it do? What is it about? And the legends we do, the racing for a cause, and you got to stand up because when we were in the green room, you showed us that shirt you're wearing, which we don't see on camera now. But show us what that is, and let's share with everybody what that's all about.
Hey, I'm proud to tell you what it's all about, Jerry. And I'll just tell you right now, I get emotional when I talk about it every time I do. And I probably shouldn't need to apologize for that, but
Absolutely.
it's near and dear to my heart. Denise and I have put tons and tons of hours of effort into this thing. This is our 11th year. It's been a real test this year because of the virus, because of the protests against law enforcement. It's been a test like no other. But to start out with, back in 2007, this is how I got involved in this. One of our fellow Legends racers, name was Danny Martinez Jr., lost his life helping a lady in a domestic abuse situation. He was actually not even on duty that night. He just heard the call on his radio and he decided to go help. He went to help a lady in a domestic abuse situation, and her boyfriend or brother-in-law or somebody shot and killed Danny, leaving behind a wife and 5 children. His car owner was Gary Hinton, and a couple years later, Gary said, hey, we need to do something in Danny's honor. So I got to talking with the guys at Knoxville about, hey, what are the chances somebody like us coming into your show, your nationally known show, the format that is second to none when it comes to sprint car racing? And Capitani, Ralph Capitani, who's in charge of that operation at the time, I talked to him for about 2 years. And finally, in 2010, he invited us to come be a part of his show. We're the only outside group that was ever invited to be a part of the Knoxville Nationals at that point in time. So in 2010, we went down and we ran on Wednesday night for our heat races, Thursday night for our features. We did that for 5 years. That got us a good head start on raising funds and creating awareness. I can't say every year went real smooth, but I can tell you that I get constant reminders from people that I run into, fellow competitors that were part of that. Matter of fact, Buongiorno's just reminded me with a video here just last week when they were there, when Joe was there and got to drive in it. We did some really cool stuff. Not only was the racing cool, and that was a half-mile track, so we couldn't make it a sanctioned event, but we made it an outlaw event. It paid $2,000 to win. Most all the money was raised from sponsors prior to that, plus our entry fees. And we did some cool stuff with the Witten Box came down and barbecued pork chops, and we had great meals and we had great fellowship, and we dynoed our cars. We tagged it with music with each driver, and that was a special time. And we did meet a lot of people that have family members that are in law enforcement or were in law enforcement. And I still see that today about every day. Somebody will come up and say, hey, thanks for what you're doing, especially what they're going through now. And just a little bit, I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but I am talking to him again about possibly doing it next year again. I don't know if I'm ready for it to bite that again, and that's because that's a lot of work. But since they had to downsize this year and couldn't run their 410 nationals, they only ran the 360s. This was going to be one of their big anniversary years. So I don't know if we can make it happen now or not, but we're going to maybe work towards that. So that was caused Falling Officers Memorial Races is what the first 5 years was called. Once we left there, we created a traveling series, which was called Racing for a Cause. The Racing for a Cause was to create awareness for the COPS Foundation, and COPS stands for Concerns of Police Survivors. In other words, the law enforcement community that loses a law enforcement member. This organization comes in and helps make funeral arrangements, has retreats for the families. And these are families that I've all been through the same thing. Every year, about 120 to 140 law enforcement officers lose their lives in the line of duty. That's just through normal line of duty activities. The environment we're living in today, and I'm going to pull a little script up here that I use when we do some of these shows. Currently today, and this was, when I say today, this information was, I got this before what we were supposed to have our meeting last week, and I didn't get a chance to update it. I would guess there's probably 8 to 10 more. Today, there's 157 law enforcement officers have lost their lives, and they've included the canines now. 10 of them have lost their lives. And if you were to go and look how many of them lost their lives due to gunfire, and that's probably a one-sided gun battle where they got ambushed. It's just horrific of what law enforcement's gone to. They go to work, they don't know if they're coming home. My son is a lieutenant in Ames, Iowa. So 90% of his time now is taking care of protesters. They can't really do their job because they're told not to go out and do certain things. The hazards of everyday duties is there, but here's a little bit of information that is even more alarming. Because of the stress of the world the law enforcement community is living in today, every 17 hours, a member of law enforcement is committing suicide due to the stress of his job. I don't even know how to talk about that. There's got to be change. And what we're trying to do is create awareness and get people to think about really what's important out there. And so that's why we do this. We've raised over $100,000 so far, thanks to tracks like Beaver Dam, Sun Prairie, Hawkeye Downs. They give us the platform to do what we do. And as you know, a month ago, the Wisconsin Legends Dirt Racers behind my back had a raffle and gave us a check for $1,000 for the COPS Foundation because we were unable to do the job like we want to do year after year to raise money and create awareness, because the law enforcement basically has to kind of set idle and set back and not give the opportunity for some of the rioters to come in. So I thank them again, and they just keep coming through, and they're so amazing. That's why I do it. It's the people. It's all about the people for me now. I love going in circles, but it's still about the people. And I hope that kind of explains why we're doing what we're doing on that end of it. So if you want to buy a t-shirt, this wonderful t-shirt, we're still selling these, and they're $20 a piece, 2 for $35. And if you don't know about it, we did a caricature shirt of Nelson Stewart, who is a supporter of the COPS series, and we're selling his shirts also, and that money also goes to COPS. So just an opportunity. I have them with me in the pit every week. We have one more event, one more COPS event coming up in Iowa in Donaldson in August 28th. So that's $1,000 to win event again. and hopefully we can get a big crowd of cars down there again and put a good show on. So yeah, I got a whole lot more to talk about, but that's a good point to let you talk again, Jerry.
You can see the passion that you have for that, but also the passion for you have for the people. And I know when we talked in the green room before we queued this up, and you talked about it a little bit, half of the deal is what you guys do on the track, but half of what you do and why you do this is for the people you get to interact with in the pits. And the Legends always have had a very good class act group to race with. You touched on Nelson, and we're blessed, Nelson, much like you, makes that 6-hour journey to come up and race at BDR, as do a lot of guys that they race, they travel 2-3 hours, but that's because of the passion you guys have and the friendships you make, and I know I've been fortunate enough to go to the nationals, which the Legends do chase national points, and we'll kind of get in a little bit on that. Not only do you guys race for your local track points, but you're also racing for national points broken into different classes: young lions, semi-pros, pros, masters, and golden masters. Give us the 30-second speech on all of those, and where do you fit?
Well, you would have to ask where I fit, so I'll just start with that right off the bat. I'm considered a golden master because I'm over 50 years old. I think that's the line. Is it 40? You maybe can tell me that. They've changed it, I think. Is that right?
You're a golden master.
I know I'm golden. I'm a golden. I'm just an old guy that goes in circles. But the young lions are the young guys that just get into it in the beginning. Some of them have quite a bit of go-karting experience or some other form of racing. So that's kind of step one. Step two would be like a semi-pro division, new to the game, but not so new that they're not pro material, but they're competitive. And as you know, we run all these together at Beaver Dam and at most tracks because we don't have 10 or 20 for each division. Semi-pro, then you go to pro, and those are people that normally have finished fairly high within the semi-pro ranks at some point in time and have had to move up to the pro ranks to keep it competitive, so that you're not just stealing the thunder for the guy that wants to come up and race for a title, a national title. And then the Masters, which is the guy that's a little bit younger than me, still considered probably can't run a 50-yard dash too many times. That's just another division. The Golden Master was implemented several years back just for the guys like me that are still sticking it out and still coming and competing. I already don't know how many Golden Masters there are that are competing. Obviously, Nelson is one because he's 82 years old. There's probably even something more valuable than a Gold Master for him. I don't know what it would be, but yeah. So those are the different divisions of the classes. And thing of it is, I've seen young lions beat masters. I've seen masters beat pros consistently. It's a title for the division and the step and the point in time when they get involved in the racing series is what it is.
Yeah, and that's the same. That's one of the cool things about Legends is, and we periodically do see guys coming from out of area, but that Legend race car is the same exact configuration car, whether you race it here at Beaver Dam in Wisconsin, or with the Wisconsin Dirt Legends, or go to Iowa. Go down to Iowa. There's a great dirt group out in Pennsylvania. You get down to Missouri. There's another big dirt group, or out in the Dakotas. And it's really attributed to the strength of the dealerships. But even on the pavement world, the Legends are extremely popular on pavement throughout the country, but it's all the same car. So for a guy who wants to travel at the end of the year, And obviously this year being crazy with COVID and track closing, but I know in a normal year, you would see guys jumping around the country. And then at the end of the year, they have a big nationals event where all the dirt guys go and race together. We've been fortunate to have three of them now in Wisconsin. But you know, you guys have been out to Pennsylvania, down to Missouri, at various tracks. North Carolina, you were one year, to go at that nationals event, which is kind of like a big get together for all the best of the best.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and this year's format's a little different than previous years, just because of the COVID-19 and the number of tracks that were not open this year, the delays of the cancellations of races. So the numbers of races that we have to go to qualify or this or that, that's all changed. I haven't really studied it that close because I'm really not a points chaser. So I'm sure when it gets to be nationals time and everybody's thinking about going to Pennsylvania, I'll rethink that little trip. And I know that's a long trip. I've back years ago when I was running for national points, and I drove out there, and it was 1,000 miles one way, and I got taken out 2 laps into the very first race and drove 1,000 miles back home again. So that was the year I quit chasing points.
Also to that level though, once you guys with the legends, you do something very special. At the end of the year, once you do wrap up all your points chases and that, which typically is sometime in October, then usually January, you guys get together down in Charlotte, actually at the home of USLC, right there at Charlotte Motor Speedway in the Speedway Club. And I've actually attended that event where you guys give out those national awards, very prestigious, a black tie event, which is really kind of cool to see the amount of respect legends get on a national level.
Yeah, that's a pretty big event, and I'm not sure exactly the numbers that attend there. And it varies anywhere from 500 to 800 people are at that banquet that night. It varies from year to year based on what's going on, but yeah, it's pretty prestigious, and you get your opportunity to receive your award and thank your sponsors and thank US Legends for putting the program on. And yeah, it's something to look forward to. And not only that, it's nice to get away from the cold weather at that point in time, go down and visit some speed shops and things like that, just to get away for a little bit.
So last year I was lucky enough to become an INEX inspector.
There you go.
And went and helped out at nationals at 141. And Jim Tremblay just commented this too. Even at nationals, there's people from all over the world that come to those. I mean, there's Australia, Great Britain, all over. They come to race legends with you guys.
Yeah, it's we have more people coming from out of the country to race with us than we have to going over there. I think they have probably a different thought process when it comes to vacation times and things, because usually when they have a vacation over there, they usually have like a month's vacation, so they can come over and they can do what they do for an extended period of time. But yeah, there's some competitive guys that come over. I know that I've never taken part like in the road course nationals, but I know they get a lot of them for coming over for the road course nationals. And there's 6,000-7,000 plus of these cars in all over the world, and so they're not new to most countries. Most countries have them and they know about them now.
So the number one question that I always get to ask is, why the number 77? Where did that come from?
Okay. Number 77 is a well-known number in our little town of Kelowna. It was actually started out on a car owned by the driver. His name was Chuck Smith. Chuck Smith kind of stepped aside and gave the number because Chuck Smith was also a mechanic and an engine builder. he stepped aside and he gave the car and the car number to a gentleman by the name of Mike Niffenegger. Now, if anybody knows anything about dirt racing and has been around very long at all, they know the name of Mike Niffenegger. Mike Niffenegger was not only a great racer, but he was just a big human being. I mean, you talk about old school racing and coming to the track, and if he showed up, like if he would come to like a Beaver Dam track and take your money and the locals didn't like it, there was probably going to be a fight somewhere, and he was a part of that. Now, that isn't necessarily why I wanted the number, but I did want to carry the number on of the 77. I know I asked Mike if I could have his number, and he told me that I could put 1-7 on and put the second one on when I won my first race. And when I won my first race, I'd already had the 2 7s on, but I called him at 2 o'clock in the morning and reminded him that I earned my 77. And he always had a story about that. But anyway, Mike is gone now. He's passed on a couple years ago, but yeah, he was just a guy that we always looked up to as a very competitive racer. He raced stock cars, jalopies. As a young kid, I used to live on 3rd Street where he would race on Friday night, and that was with jalopies, and they would destroy the car. So the next night they'd have a new car, but the Saturday afternoon he'd drive up my street to a little guy's paint shop, and the guy'd sit out there and draw his number on the side and do his things, and they'd drive it and they go race it again a new car the second night. But they weren't, they were jalopies. That's where most of the cars went. They got used up, and every week I'd watch that painter paint a new car up for him, so he was fun to watch. But I got the number from Mike Niffenegger, longtime Kelowna number.
What else you got up there, Chris?
I have just a couple of hellos, really. Franny Owen says good evening, and then Jeff Deal says hello, but there hasn't been any. And then Jim mentioned about the world competitors for the nationals, but that's about it.
I want to bring up something, because you guys all know that Iowa just got hit by a major storm last week, and I posted some pictures on Facebook today, but they don't tell the story. Only pictures that I posted were the pictures of Hawkeye Downs, which I became a board member a year ago, or about 9 months ago. So I spend about 90% of my time every week up there now, working on the track and doing just various things to try to rejuvenate the facility. But we got hit hard with that storm, like 120 mile an hour straight line winds for about 40 minutes. It pretty much destroyed all the lighting system in a bunch of buildings at the track. But the track is nothing compared to the city. The city is devastated. It looks like a total war zone when you drive down the street. It's unimaginable. I can't even explain it. There are people there that have been to Katrina, all these other places, and they said they've never seen anything like it. The whole city has been hit, and they're still trying. That's been over 10 days ago now, and they're still trying to get power to some of areas of the city. I know we've been delivering some things like diapers and wipes and blankets and water and ice, and you pull into a complex and people just come running for supplies. And the food situation, it's getting better. They're getting closer, but I know that Tim France and Dave Eberly, and I'm sure Trish has something to do with this too. I know they're doing a drive up there to raise donations for the people hit in Iowa. And it's heartfelt thank you from us. I don't ever want to see a chainsaw again. That's what I did yesterday afternoon. I went up and helped a fellow racer, helped clean up part of his businesses. The tree loss is just something to behold. It's not only did it just snap trees, it just took them out of the roots and everything, and huge mature trees. So there's a lot of people hurting. A lot of people have lost their businesses and their homes. But I mean, I'm sure it will come out of it, but it's not going to be a short-term thing. So I want to say thank you to the Legends racers and just the people of Wisconsin or anybody that want to donate. I do have a website here that if anybody wants to donate directly, this is going to the Hawkeye Downs part of it. It'll go toward things that insurance doesn't cover. It's www.hawkeyedowns.org/donate. So if anybody has the urge to help out Hawkeye Downs itself, it is a site that you can go to and make a pledge. But right now, I think the more important thing is the people that need, these things that they're accustomed to have every day and don't think twice about it. Like I go up to work and I want to go get something to eat and I have to look and look and look to find a place to eat, so a cold water is a pretty good thing when you can't find one anywhere up there, but it's coming around. And I just want to thank everybody for their support and prayers at this point, because they are going through a very tough time.
And we did talk about that.
We were fortunate here in Kelowna to, we lost a little tree that my kids gave my wife 30 years ago for Mother's Day. It snapped it off, pulled it out by the roots, took a big branch out of a large tree, but we had all that cleaned up in a couple of hours. So we basically had nothing compared to most. But when you go north 30 miles, it's a whole different ballgame.
We did talk about that. They're going to have collection barrels both on the top side where the fans coming in, but also on the pit side down by the 51 Legend Tim Franz. And we do have those lists posted, any of the supplies that anybody can donate, much appreciated. And let's show our neighbors, our friends in Iowa, hey, we do really care up here in Wisconsin, and want to see you guys back in business and up and doing well. We do appreciate that, and kind of a way to step back, and especially in this crazy time, saying, think back of how good we got it up here, that we don't have to be going through what you guys are doing down there.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. 2020 has been a test, I can tell you. So I don't know. Hopefully we're going to get through the rest of the year without any more big surprises.
Next surprise would be the parking that 77 in Victory Lane, Warren.
Yes. That would be a surprise. Hey, I don't know. It might happen. My son's talking about coming with me this weekend, and so that would give me extra motivation to try harder. Maybe, I don't know. I'll probably hurt myself if I try too hard.
I did just put a comment on the video on Facebook with your website on there, so it's out there on there. So,
all right, well, very good. Appreciate it, Chris.
No problem. So we have gone probably about 35, 40 laps with Warren, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it was enjoyable. I learned a lot, so thank you. But I think we should probably wrap it up. If you agree, Jerry.
Yes, ma'am. Let's put the pink flag out and check her on this one.
Yes, and it was so nice having you on, Warren. Thank you for taking the time.
You're more than welcome. It's always a pleasure seeing you guys. Like I said, I don't drive that far for just to go in circles. I go up there to see the bright smiling faces, and you're one of the first ones I get to see.
Me.
Yay.
You were one of the only drivers that every time walks in with a smile on their face. So I will take it, because there's a few of them that are be like, oh.
Yeah, unless I forget to come check in, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Bill Bloomer, real quick. Bill Bloomer says Warren is 4th in national golden points. And Mo Legend says Warren Ropp is the ambassador of Legend Cars.
Oh, cool. That has to be old Dave down there.
All right.
Pretty high praise, Warren, but well earned and well deserved.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
See you Saturday.
Chris,
All right, pleasure, guys. Take care.
thank you. See ya.
Good night.